Frogs is the 1972 George McCone eco-horror movie which critics have called the best bad movie. But with mood posters like this, I can't see how this movie could possibly be bad. I mean, look at it, it's about man-eating frogs for goodness sake. The intro sets the tone of the movie with some peaceful kayak tours of some lovely swamps. There's our villain right now, look at his slimy skin and adorable eyes. I don't think Coca-Cola had this scene in mind when they paid for product placement in this movie. This is Pickett Smith, a freelance wildlife photographer who's doing a pollution layout of the area. However, his work is cut short when a drunk driver in a speedboat runs him over. Through clumsy exposition, we discover that these two are related, solidifying the woman as the love interest for the movie.
The sound you hear is the wind rushing through my brother's head.
This is Clint and Karen Crockett. Clint is an unlikable jock way past his youth, and Karen is the lovely, near-flawless love interest whose only negative feature is that she's too loyal to her father, because writing complex female characters in the 70s was super hard. Karen is played by the legendary Joan Van Ark, who on top of her major role in The Young and the Restless, recently dipped her hand into the video game world by voicing a number of characters in Fallout 4.
How are you at badminton? How about tennis?
It's like nearly killing someone will make them rather unfriendly towards you, Clint.
How about it, buddy?
You could have killed him, he's not your buddy. Because Pickett's been so responsive to Clint's attempts at becoming a friend, it only makes sense that he invites him to their family gathering. Jesus, is this house located in Silent Hill? We're introduced to the Crockett family. This is Jason Crockett, patriarch of the family and massive controlling douchebag.
Mr. Smith, I saw you out on the lake early this morning. Now, you've been paddling around this island for hours, taking pictures.
Yes, sir.
Don't you know it's against the law?
Grandpa.
No, sir, I didn't.
There's a sign out there that says private property.
Jenny Crockett, who's the unhappy wife of Clint and his two children.
This is Clint's wife, Jenny.
Jenny.
Oh. Well, where's Clint?
He's upstairs changing his work clothes.
What happened?
Well, it's a long story.
Yeah, it usually is.
Iris, who's the slightly mental aunt with a fascination with butterflies and plants. And finally, Michael and his supermodel girlfriend, Belle.
What? Hi. Not quite awake yet, Mr. Pickett, but I can hardly wait to see what you look like.
Is that a Ouija board? You cannot cry out for help in the future when you've been using a Ouija board. You're basically asking for it at that point.
It's dead.
Oh, you'll get a dial tone. We're on a regular line.
It's dead.
The landline being down is the mobile phone having a signal cliche of the 70s.
Come on, why don't we help ourselves to some dry clothes?
Ooh, I smell a sex scene. It was actually this movie's shirtless scenes that landed Sam Elliott, Pickett's actor, his leading role in the movie Lifeguard.
Nobody ever invites guests 4th of July, and I bring you, a girl.
It's better than a boy.
Sexy model.
That ain't all either.
But would Jason ever admit we shook him up? Never.
That frog disapproves of Jason Crockett and his racist allegations.
Grandfather, you know how difficult it is to get those kids away from the pool. And on a day like this? Well, I told them. I told those kids 20 minutes ago to get out of their wetsuits and change for lunch.
Jenny, far be it from me to tell you how to raise your children.
But
If you forbid them the use of the pool until they've learned the rules for being at meals on time.
Look what I found. Look what I found. He's gigantic.
Don't be so stupid, Jay.
that guy's a dick to frogs. Due to the family's dislike of frogs and the croaking noises they make, Jason sent out a family friend out early in the morning to spray poisons to keep the frogs at bay, but he never came back. Jason asked Pickett, the man he's known for literally 5 minutes, for a favour, to help find a way to keep the frogs at bay and to try and find Grover, the family friend. Rather quickly, Pickett finds Grover's jeep along with his body face down in a swamp covered in snake bites and frogs. Well, we're told he's dead despite him quite clearly breathing and his eyes going from closed to open. Pickett goes back to Jason to tell him about Grover, and Jason with his infinite wisdom decides that telling people about Grover's death would ruin his birthday, so he doesn't.
Yeah, I've gathered tomorrow's quite a celebration.
We have 4 birthdays in July. Mine, Karen's, Stuart, and Michael.
How did the snake get up on the chandelier like that? Did it spider snake its way up the wall and across the roof? Jason has impeccable aim. He managed to shoot the snake in such a way to kill it but not leave any blood on the white tablecloth. So much so they go to eat straight away without worrying about snake guts on the plates.
Well, what's everybody standing around for? Let's eat.
Now we get some much needed character development on Clint and Jenny for a marital dispute.
You're out drinking in that speedboat all day and all night. Well, I hate it. Yes, sir, no, sir, all day long. The only one that matters is him. Well, what about me? Shouldn't your wife come first?
With your contempt for your husband and his family, I don't think he's ever made you come first, second, or at all. I'm slightly put off by the fact that the owner of this plantation-looking mansion in the deep south only has black people as servants, who also apparently doesn't like the idea of his grandson dating a black supermodel. Those are strange-looking frogs. Jason sends out his most inept grandson Michael to find the fallen phone line. Michael thinks he will need a shotgun to shoot the fallen line back up again. I see nothing going wrong with this plan at all. If you as a human being thinks it's a good idea to run through a swamp with a gun aimed at your foot, it's a good thing you get shot. Get out of my gene pool. Oh no, Michael got murdered by 8-legged hairy frogs. We cut back to Iris asking her son Kenneth to get her some flowers from the greenhouse. However, she spots a rare butterfly and decides to run out into the swamp by herself to catch it. The greenhouse has been overrun by lizards, however, Kenneth doesn't seem to notice the giant lizards everywhere and goes on his merry way. This is where things become a bit silly. The lizards have become the cats of the reptile world and proceed to knock stuff off the counter. Yas! However, Kenneth doesn't seem to mind that the glass bottles filled with caution and poison are being smashed over the floor. Once he noticed the toxic smoke in the room, he decides to kneel right down to the source of the smoke and take a good whiff of it, getting all that toxic smoke into his lungs. Oh no, while in the swamp Iris stumbled onto the settle of the evil dead. I wouldn't trust those branches if I was you, Iris. Iris's death scene was originally supposed to be a lot more funnier than it was, where butterflies lured her into a quicksand pit where she slowly drowned, but this was deemed too silly for the final cut of the film, in the film where lizards strategically drop chemicals on top of each other to create poisonous gas. Pickett finds Kenneth's body and informs the remaining Crockett family about his demise. Unfazed by his grandson's death, Jason demands that the death of both his grandson and Grover will not ruin his birthday. Now that's just unpatriotic. The most evil thing the frogs have done so far in this movie is ruin a perfectly good 4th of July cake, and I will not stand for it. All the black people had enough of this white people shit and wants to get the fuck off the island. To Jason's displeasure, Clint takes the gang across the lake while Stu goes out into the swamp to find his wife Iris, but meets his demise by walking backwards into the swamp while alligators get at him. He dies in a scene where I actually thought he was winning the fight. I mean look, he clearly has the upper hand fighting the skater, then out of nowhere he's dead, covered in red paint. It would have made his death seem less out of nowhere if they made it look like he wasn't winning the fight the entire scene. Things are not what they seem on the mainland, as if people just disappeared, the entire place is abandoned. But sadly, most of the likable characters in this movie, Belle, Charles and Maybelle, are quickly killed off by Hitchcock's Birds reference. It doesn't do a fantastic job at showing you they died during this confrontation, but trust me they do. The creatures of the swamp have seemed to develop opposable thumbs and the understanding of scissors, which is the only way I can acknowledge the clean cut done to Clint's rope. Clint jumps into the lake to get to a stranded boat. However, he is followed by a family of poisonous snakes, who seem to develop the power of pulling a fully grown man underwater. Concerned with her husband's whereabouts, Jenny takes to the balcony to see if she can spot Clint. Seeing the trouble he's in, Jenny runs to the dock to see if she can save him. However, she quickly, or rather slowly, becomes total food off screen. I guess they didn't know how to make a death involving a turtle eating a woman to death not look ridiculous. You could say Jenny has crabs. After the Crocketts one by one slowly become swamp food, Karen tries to convince her grandfather that they need to leave. Even though most of his family's gone missing or has turned up dead, he's determined to stay and have a good birthday. Finally come to terms that he's a massive unreasonable cunt, Karen and Pickett take the kids to the kayak to make it to the other side of the lake, leaving Jason behind. If you think it's a good idea to give a loaded shotgun to an 8-year-old, you're going to end up like this guy. A snag on the boat gives us one more chest hair scene. Once on the other side of the lake, we see the victims of the Hitchcock reference. They manage to hitchhike a car ride and they are finally safe, minus the cliffhanger ending.
We've been on this road for practically 3 hours straight, and you're the first souls we've seen in an hour. It seems very strange that everybody's disappeared inside on a holiday.
Hey, you wanna see what I caught? They were all over the place at camp. Ever seen a monster big as him before?
We round out the movie with the demise of Jason Crockett. The frogs have finally discovered how to throw themselves out windows to break in. Slowly going mad with his impending doom, Jason falls off his wheelchair and the frogs jump on top of him and cut out his house power. And thus ends the movie with the most misleading title and movie poster in the world. In a film where the poster is of a frog eating a human arm, you expect it to be at least some frog related killings, but instead we've got spiders, snakes, alligators and even a fucking turtle killing people. The closest we got to a frog killing someone is them jumping at Jason at the end. But all jokes aside, this film is beautifully shot with some quite good gore effects for a PG movie, and the acting wasn't that bad and we got to see Sam Elliott's man boobs. And I have to disagree with the critics on this movie, because it's not the best bad movie, because it's not a bad movie, it's a pretty decent 70s horror.